It's Saturday, July 28th. Welcome to Pastor Bob Daily. Well, there's a subject that I avoid on this podcast. It's the subject of sexuality because it seems like every time I talk about it, I get in trouble. It's a really delicate subject. But probably 1 out of every 8 messages and questions that I get from you are about sexuality. People really struggling in this area. So I decided today to tackle it a little bit. And let's talk about some of the problems. One of my friends on Facebook says, I'm a teenager, and I was wondering about how wrong is it to have sinful thoughts. My sex drive is pretty chaotic right now, and I see young women around, and I begin to have sexual thoughts about them. I know that these thoughts can lead to bad behavior, but as long as they remain thoughts and nothing else, then is it all right? And that's a great question, and a lot of you have asked very similar questions. Well, let's get down to basics for just a minute. Sex wasn't your idea, it was God's. And let's start there. It was His idea in the first place. So we have to look at things from that perspective. Did God make a mistake when He created you as a sexual being? And the answer would be no, He didn't make a mistake. It's for a reason. Now, everything that God gives you can be perverted. It's true. And these days, sexuality has been perverted probably more than anything. Here's the basics. This person that's writing to me is young, probably in college. The average college man, according to a new study, is thinking about sex 19 times per day. We thought it was more than that at one point. At least psychologists did. But now they say it's about 19 times a day. They think about sex. Just sex. Women think about sexuality about 10 times a day, about half that much. And when they think about it, college women, they say that much of it is based on romance and not just raw sex like men are. Women generally get their validation from romance. Men generally get their validation in marriage from sex. Well, that's the way that sexuality works. And if you want to know more about this subject, I talk about it a lot more on my podcast series called Mating, Dating, and Relating. And you'll find it on YouTube. But here is the difficulty, folks. Anything can be distorted. When you go to a movie, before the movie starts, they have trailers. In other words, they have short snippets of movies that are coming out in the future. And as you sit there and watch them, you either decide, yes, that's a movie I'd like to see, or no, that's not a movie I want to see. Well, it's the same thing with your brain. And guys, I don't care how spiritual you are, it's 19 times a day. Christian, non-Christian, anyone. Now, if that's the case, what are your choices? You can watch the trailer and decide not to watch the movie, or you can watch the movie, literally. These days, porn is a huge problem with so many people. And they say about 85% of Christian young men are addicted to porn, addicted meaning once or twice a week. Now, that's a problem because you're not just watching the trailer in your head that just pops up. You're watching the movie. And that's when it sinks in. That's when it takes a hold of you, and that's when you have a problem. Now, it's up to you to decide what to do. And yesterday I talked about addiction a little bit. And I said that the basic thing you want to do with addiction is to fight the battle before the battle. So many guys think they're going to be super spiritual and their sexuality is just going to disappear. But I want you to plan for 19 times a day, seriously. Because that's the way your body's made. That's what God made you to be. You'll understand that a little more when you're married, those of you that are single. But for a single guy, you have some responsibilities here. And when you have the trailer playing in your head 19 times a day, you have to plan for it. You have to fight the battle before the battle. You have to decide what you're going to do before you get there. That's huge. And you know, for me personally, in every area of my life, when I fight the battle before the battle, it makes the battle a lot easier. I realize that I'm human. I realize that I'm a sinful person, you know, in my very nature. And now I have a new nature in Jesus Christ. And when I decide to fight the battle before the battle, I realize that I'm a new creation in Christ, and I don't have to settle for anything of the old sinful nature. Now, this can be a problem, folks. And those of you that are addicted to porn, you're thinking about it more than 19 times a day, and it's a problem. And you may need, again, to have some friends kind of help you to stay away from it, it might be. But mostly that comes from the inside. And I want to encourage you folks that sex is something that God made, something that he gave to you as a gift, and something that he didn't have porn in mind when he made it. He had a loving relationship between a husband and a wife in mind when he created it. I hope that helps a little bit. Watch my podcast called Mating, Dating, and Relating. It's 10 lessons long or so. I can't remember how many, but you'll find it on YouTube. God bless you. Have a great day.